Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope y'all having a great day so far. Today I wanted to make a video on something that has been a long journey for me. It's something that I still continue to wrestle with, to develop in, and progressively get better and better and more efficient in. And that's this topic of emotions and dealing with emotionally charged situations. Now, when I say emotionally charged situations, these can really be things that are more major life events that kind of, once they happen, that's it. As well as kind of in the moment emotions that you may feel, whether it's like, a quick argument or something like that, or something really kind of irks you, dealing with that as well. But I think doing it slowly is important to do at first, but then once you get quicker, you can kind of manage the more day-to-day situations. But we'll talk about that in a bit. So I think the first thing I want to do is I wanted to cover how I have historically handled my emotions growing up, and hopefully at some point someone out there can relate to this and can kind of maybe look at some of the development that I've done and see if maybe that works for them. I'm not claiming that this is a catch-all that's going to solve everybody's problems, but hopefully it's something that you guys can kind of draw on my prior experiences and hopefully not make some mistakes that I have, hurt people, things like that. So, historically speaking, anytime I've dealt with emotions, at least when I was a lot younger, I really took the route of muting certain emotions and only acknowledging others. And for the longest time, I thought this was kind of my greatest asset. I thought it was something that made me strong, something that kind of set me apart, right? If something bad were to happen, I would pretty much do my best not to let it affect me negatively. I would overemphasize the potential for positives and really just kind of like break through that way. And it was helpful, right? Like, I think it was a survival technique that ended up having a lot of value add. But where I thought it made me strong, I think it also made me weak in a lot of different areas. Primarily, I never really solved problems, right? I really only kind of just chalked it up to life is life and move on. And if your goal in life is to solely be an individual contributor, you don't plan on being in relationships, you don't plan on being friends in any meaningful way with a lot of people, you don't plan on having a family, you might be able to survive that way. A lot of people do. And a lot of people sometimes will irresponsibly get into one of the aforementioned relationships without ever changing that. But I noticed that I got really good at expressing positivity, but not very good at embracing or acknowledging anything that wasn't positive, right? So if you think like, for those of you who are familiar with kinesiology or, the study of muscles, you have to develop both sides equally, right? Predominantly what I think about is like being quad dominant as an athlete. It means your quads are super strong, like the muscle in front of your legs. That's super strong, but your hamstrings are really weak, and you actually become prone to injury because of that, because there's no balance. So over time, I started to develop this understanding that I can't just only acknowledge the happy emotions, right? That may be what I want to put out and what I want to close my finishing thoughts on nowadays, but it's not the only emotion I experience. So it's kind of developed into this asking every portion of myself how I'm feeling, right? And that's hard, right? Like you can really get down some emotionally dark places when you deal with stuff like that, especially with past traumas. A lot of the things that I had to work through emotionally that I didn't take the time to work through before, which granted I didn't know how to work through, but taking the time as an adult to work through that stuff was tough, right? Like, you had to kind of travel down some paths that you kind of repressed, or you had to acknowledge feelings that you wish you didn't have to acknowledge a second time. And it takes a lot of effort. It's very scary, and is at the end of the day though worth it, right? Another realization that I had to come to is this understanding that who I think myself to be as this like altruistic person, or who like really tries to do all this good to everybody and, you know, tries to make the world a better place than it was before he got here. Like, there is a portion of me deep down that isn't that. There's a portion of me deep down that is a very resentful, hateful person, and who at any given moment, if wronged, could just feel like that person is like dead to them. And at first it was confusing because I was like, well, I don't like that. I don't want to be that person. But it took a while to acknowledge that all of these people exists inside of you, right? So you have the perpetually happy person, you have the perpetually sad person, you have the angry person, you have the loving person, you have the caring person, you have the selfish person. You have all of these different emotions inside of you, and each of them have a voice, right? Now, what you show to other people is different, right? It's like you had a group presentation in school. Everybody in the project did work, right? Or at least you hoped everybody in the project did work, right? There was always that one person. But all that to say, everybody does the work. But ideally, you want to pick the people that are strong at communicating, the good presenters, and have them present the project. Even though work was done by other people, only one person presents. So kind of in the same way, I want my public speaker, what gets out to people, I want that to be the happy person. I want that to be the person that is positive, wants to do good unto the world, and yeah, that's who I want speaking. But that doesn't mean that I don't let the other people speak, right? So, I mean, I guess another way I could describe this is, imagine if you had something you wanted to say, right? Let's say you're at work, or you're in a family situation, or you're in a spousal situation, right? And you have something you want to say, something that's been burning inside, and you really want to get it out. And you were not given the opportunity to speak. No one ever acknowledges you. You can never talk. You're relegated to just nodding and saying, yeah, okay. You'd be pretty pissed, right? Like you would only be able to take that for so long until something just snaps, right? And in the same way, when you deal with an emotionally charged situation, you start to harbor ill feelings when you don't express certain emotions within you, right? So if you don't express the anger inside of you, right? Like if you don't give the angry you a chance to speak, I find that you tend to hold a grudge. You tend to just not know why you're pissed at somebody, but you just are, right? Or if you never really expressed like the guilt side of something, right? Like let's say you never went to go see somebody and they experienced some kind of like traumatic life event, right? And all of a sudden you start to really value the time that you spend with them. But for some reason now, like you always feel this like persistent guilt when you choose to do something other than go see that person, right? I'm just kind of drawing an example here, but maybe that's something that you didn't have the opportunity to express with yourself. Like, hey, I feel guilty. Like I feel like a shit human because all of these like times that I had to meet with this person, I didn't, and I almost lost them, right? But if you don't talk about that, you kind of just say like, oh man, like I'm so happy you're here, let's hang out all the time. And you just feel this like welling guilt to always do something, right? So I hope that kind of explains that portion, but how I've really kind of leveraged that into dealing with stress, dealing with anger, dealing with a sad situation is in combination of what I said before and a quote that my dad actually said. He said, there's a time for mourning and then there's a time to move on. And I didn't really like, I understood that as a kid, but like as an adult now, I really understand it, right? Is that just as important as the phase of moving on is the phase of mourning, right? But now I use mourning interchangeably as like open mic, right? Like all of the emotions, there's a time for all of the emotions to speak, and then there's a time for the emotion to present, right? So when I have a situation, like let's say I deal with a breakup, right? Long-standing person breaks up with me over a text message, right? At baseline, that's devastating, right? Like you kind of don't know what to do. You may just kind of like go out and ignore your emotions, and sure, maybe that's like what you need to do for that instant, right? But you need to document, I think, the base level of emotions, right? Like I'm probably gonna miss one, but happy, angry, sad, lonely, excited, whatever the case may be, right? And just talk as if you're that person, right? I'm angry. I'm upset that I spent so much time and energy on this person and it didn't work out. And for what feels emotionally to me like it wasn't my fault. How they did it aggravates me. I feel like there's a total lack of respect, and that hurt, especially because I respected them so much that I thought they respected me as well. And it hurts to know I was wrong. There's a portion of me inside that wanted to be cared for by that person, and they didn't care. And it's frustrating. And then you continue on and, you go for it. And then there's the sad, like I am upset, or I am sad that this relationship is over. I'm not going to have somebody there to text good morning. I'm not going to be able to share in the same inside jokes that we used to have. It's gone. And that's sad. You go into lonely, pretty much the exact same things as sad, but it's kind of like when push comes to shove, I have a rough day, I may come home to nobody, and that sucks. And there's the happy, I learned a lot in the relationship. I'm happy that it happened. I don't wish that it didn't happen, because I wouldn't have learned all the things that I've learned, and I wouldn't have become a better person as a result, both as a individual and as a spouse to a future someone, right? I'm happy for all the fun memories that I have. It was a good time, and I don't think I could trade those laughs for anything else. Then you keep going, and everyone gets a chance to talk. And you'll start to feel this like whoosh of calm, of like, okay, I think I've explored everything. And then you just move on, and you give the presentation over to the emotion that you want to present, and you do it. And I can't choose that presenter for you. Some people like to, or find a habit of, perpetually having the sad person talk. Some people have the sarcastic person talk. Some people, whatever, right? Like, it's all up to you. But I think whatever you use as the presenter, I think is your choice. But I think that it is good for most people to kind of express all of them. Make sure no one is like the weak hamstring in your emotional group. So yeah, everybody gets the spotlight, and I think that's a very important thing. And then as you work on it, more so with like at home or like slow situations where you have time to process, you get faster at it. It becomes more natural to you. So much so that you can experience in the moment things like somebody cutting you off in traffic, or, someone getting something wrong on your Starbucks order. I don't know, whatever gets you mad, right? You quickly in your head go through all of the emotions like, WTF? What's that guy doing? Why did he cut me off? Whatever, I'm glad I didn't get into a car crash. Maybe he has to poo. I think he has to poo. That's why he's cutting me off, right? And you just go through that quick thing in your head, and instead of flipping him off, you just like, happy I didn't get in an accident, right? So, but yeah, you get more efficient at it, and you get to do it real time. And I think once you experience that, it's a very good feeling. It's like, wow, I'm in full control of my emotion, and it feels good. So anyways, that's about it for this topic. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask down in the comments. Always happy to answer, read, make another video if need be. But yeah, hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.